Centrist Democrats met in Denver. 30 centrist conservative Democrats met to plot the potential future of the Democratic Party strategy. This was led by Alaska Senator Mark Begich. Mark that name, we're gonna go back to it in about 5 minutes because he's gonna be very important. He put together this 3-day summit with presentations, with US senators, former federal prosecutors, mayors, cabinet officials from the Obama administration. And what they did was they talked about the future of the Democratic Party. Here's what he said. You can't get the majorities back without independent and centrist Democrats. You just can't. It's important that we come together and figure that out without conflicting with other groups. Now, the goal of this was to talk about what the Democrats need to talk about when they're running for office so that they can engage with these other groups. And I think that Mark Begich, who is tied to, shocker, corporate interests, is trying to protect those interests and the shift by the liberal base and unions. You know, what we need to remember about the DNC and the DNC vote was that it was split. You had half of DNC members who've been there for 20 years, you know, our establishment, but a lot of them came from the union movement. And the unions right now are fighting up against these professional Democrats who are corporate tied, people part of the many who are part of the Obama administration, who are making money in the Democratic Party. Ken Salazar, who was the Secretary of the Interior, was at this event. And some of the stuff that came out, you're gonna be shocked by. They wanna focus on identity politics, shocker. But Begich literally said he had research suggesting that liberal priorities like student loan debt are just not a big deal. Young people actually don't care about that. Don't care about that at all. The presentations included a discussion about faith, what millennials and Generation Z, the youngest generation, are experiencing in the economy and politically. But it definitely centered around what many call identity politics. And nobody in the Democratic Party wants to talk about these economic issues, which is how you bring Republicans and conservatives and independents and moderates and people who stay home to the polls. Why don't they get it?
Because they're paid not to get it, of course. And so why focus on identity politics? Yes, the demographics are to the Democrats' advantage, significantly so. They still somehow miraculously lost to an orange buffoon this year, even with all those gigantic demographic advantages. But the fact that you have the demographic advantage doesn't mean that you should run your political campaigns with, I'm with black people. What are you gonna do for them? Nothing, I don't know, I'm just for black people. I don't hate Latinos. That's not a campaign slogan, right? And by the way, you should be with me, okay? Make sure you say, I'm with her or him or whoever your next corporate is.
Unity.
Yeah, so that's not a real campaign, number one. Number two, the reason they do it is it's safe. It's safe to say I'm for blacks, Latinos, gays. To say, who, other than the monsters that are in charge now, who else would argue with that? You don't lose any money by saying that. But if you run on economic issues, your donors get pissed. If you say, hey, let's increase the minimum wage to $15, a lot of your donors go, no, I've got to pay that. If you say, hey, the bankers are ripping us off and they're taking way too much risk with depositor money, well, a lot of the Democratic Party gets giant amount of money from the banks. Your donors get pissed off. If you go after the drug companies who are ripping us off and we can't even negotiate with, your donors get pissed off. That's why they don't want to touch economic issues with a 10-foot pole, because they are corrupt.
There's African Americans, Latinos. Trump did better than what was expected. I think he was predicted to get in the early, low 20s, I think he got 29%, better than Romney.
He got almost a third of Latino voters.
Right.
Just saying that, like, look, does that mean that we shouldn't be for blacks and Latinos? Are you nuts? Of course we're for blacks and Latinos, but blacks and Latinos want jobs.
Right.
Just like, so it's such a fundamental misunderstanding to say like, oh, you know, we should also appeal to the disgruntled white people who have either lost their jobs or have lower wages. No, you should be for disgruntled Americans that have lower wages, and that's white, black, Latino. It isn't a racial issue in that sense. Yes, you've got the racial advantage because the other side is monstrous. You can't rest on those laurels because they can sniff you out. By the way, if you keep going in this direction, ironically, they'll lose even more Latino and black voters because those guys will turn around and go, yeah, but you're not doing anything to actually help me.
And they stayed at home, and this is something that I think we need to keep in mind. We had low turnout, not just with white working class voters, all working class voters, And the people that get affected, who are affected by slashes to universal health care or raising the minimum wage, it is without a doubt the majority of the people affected are people of color, especially women of color. And so when you want to talk about identity politics and leave out economics, you are directly hurting the people that you want to recruit. And I don't know when the Democratic Party is going to wake up to this.
They're not.
Because their transition team sucks.
No, seriously. I guess for even me, for a brief moment, I had a little bit of hope that the loss was so devastating. Now, I fought hard to make sure that we did not get in that position, but we did. And by the way, I would argue I was right on it in every facet. I was right in the primaries when I said Bernie Sanders would do better. Now Bernie Sanders polls at 61%, Hillary Clinton polls at 35%. We were right, you were wrong, okay? And then in the general election, I said, look, as much as I wanted Bernie Sanders to win, he didn't win the primary. Vote against Trump. I was right about that. Look at what a monster Trump is, okay? Now, having said that, I was like, okay, well, maybe silver lining is, Jesus Christ, they'll realize how wrong they were. And now the most popular politician in the country by far is Bernie Sanders. No, because the problem is there is no, hope requires them to be rational actors, but they're not. They're corrupt actors. So, and it's not because they're bad people. Like we say this in the Jennifer Palmieri's of the world, I'm sure, get very hurt feelings over it. But I've interviewed Jennifer in the past. Jennifer's not a bad person, and I'm sorry that I even picked her name out of a hat. You could name anybody there, right? It's that you believe in this corrupt system that says if you get money from multinational corporations, that's the right thing to do. That is a centrist position. It is not a centrist position. It's a corporatist position. No one in the center of the country goes, boy, if the Democrats would just do more favors for multinational corporations, I would really like them. I would vote for them in Arkansas. That is not a sentence any human being's ever said.
So there's this new transition team that Secretary Tom Perez has set forward for transitioning the Democratic Party from what it was to what it will be. Let's put that list up right there. So it's a list of different folks. There's a lot of diversity here, important to note. You have people like Mark Begich at the top of the list there. Sally Boynton Brown, who ran for DNC chair. Pete Buttigieg, who's from the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, also ran for DNC chair. Leah Daughtry, we have got to talk about Leah Daughtry because she also ran the convention. And I think that this is, there's a lot happening with Leah Daughtry, who's a reverend. Don Fowler used to be the DNC chair. He has literally been in the DNC since like the early 70s. Jennifer Granholm, former governor of Michigan. Jimmy Green also ran for DNC chair. Luis Herida was the executive director of the Arizona Democratic Party. Pramila Jayapal, she is the only progressive on this list, full force Bernie Sanders supporter. I think they were throwing Bernie a bone there. But before I go through this whole list, Hillary Clinton staffers, the usual go-tos, DeRay, who aligned with Wells Fargo. This list, not one person on this list voted for Keith Ellison.
Yeah.
And Mark Begich. One thing to note that a lot of people didn't realize, and it was tweeted out. I had some help with the people from Open Secrets and MapLight. Mark Begich is somebody who is against student loans, bringing that up as an issue. Well, maybe it's because he's invested in Apollo Education Group. At one point, and he dealt with a $1.1 billion transaction. He is for things like school choice, charter schools. And so you look at a list like this where pretty much none of the people on that list, except for Representative Jayapal, talk about economics.
So putting one person who supported Bernie Sanders on your transition team of however many, several dozen people.
You might as well put zero.
Yeah, it's a slap in the face. But that's how they view it, though. They feel like, what? We gave the overwhelming majority of the Democratic Party at this point, the person who's the most popular politician in the country, one vote. What else do you want? Because from their perspective, the establishment is always right. And so we're just Philistines, barbarians at the gate, and we're children. We don't understand that money makes the world go around. And if you're bathed in the corruption of money, that's how you're going to win. Except to Michael's point, when's the last time you won?
Right.
I mean, you lost to an orange clown. And you lost the Supreme Court when you had a year to make sure your guy got in. You lost the Supreme Court. You lost the House. You lost the Senate. You lost 69 out of 99 state legislatures. You are losers. So you have no credibility at all. But their assumption is you must get behind me. I have no interest. None of us have any interest. None of the voters have any interest. JusticeDemocrats.com. That's my opinion. I speak just for myself here. But Justice Democrats are real progressives. You're not allowed to take corporate money. You're not allowed to take PAC money. What I want to show them, guys, is all these guys who think, oh, but I do declare, we're such geniuses, right? Okay, you run your corporate shills. We'll run real citizens that we're asking you to nominate who are leaders in their community, and they won't take any corporate money and any PAC money, and I bet we kick your ass. And when I say that, they laugh and they're, oh, I do declare, did you hear what that gentleman said? Oh, like with no money, like, oh, no, there's money, it's small donor money. Oh, but without the help of multinational corporations, they believe they can win. Oh, okay, good luck. There's already over 8,000 nominations that Justice Democrats have gotten, and by the way, or also raise over $1 million. So and it's been about a month. So that's the only thing they'll pay attention to. They say, oh, I do declare, did they say $1 million? Okay, so we'll see you in the primaries, and they will cry. Hear me now, quote me later. They will, when we primary them, they will cry and cry. Oh no, you don't understand. Only our corporate friends can win in Arkansas.
Yeah, right.
That's the claim they're actually going to make while calling them centrist.
So Bernie Sanders was quoted in New York Times. This is my favorite Bernie Sanders quote ever. It is TB05, if we can put that up there real quick. He was responding to a question in the New York Times. You're asking a good question, and I can't give you a definitive answer. Certainly there are some people in the Democratic Party who want to maintain the status quo. They would rather go down with the Titanic so long as they have the first class seats.
Oh, that's such a great quote. I hadn't seen that. That nailed it. That's exactly right.
Well, the thing is, they don't even mind if the Titanic goes down. As long as they have the life boats and drinking wine and getting their payouts, I don't think they care. I also think, maybe this is an idea for a shirt, Game of Thrones style, this is the establishment's last stand. Like we talk about Big Oil's last stand, they're flooding the media with the same old. They're flooding the transition team with the same old. They're putting up against the numbers, the polls, what they see in the country. This is their last stand.
And the composition of that list indicates to me that they are content to just let the ship fully sink. Because it's one thing to include people who were Clinton supporters or who were outwardly pro-Clinton in the primary and general election process. That's reasonable. But so many people on that list just seem to me to have been just pure propagandists in favor of Hillary Clinton, like Jennifer Granholm and like Zerlina Maxwell.
Jennifer Granholm was making money as running the super PAC. She actually took in hundreds of thousands of dollars over a 6-month period, making money off of that propaganda.
So look, I'm biased in this case because I know Granholm and we work together in Kern. She is such a lovely person. But that doesn't mean that she's right about the politics, okay? She's a fundamentally decent person, but if you think the Begiches of the world who are proven losers, they never win their second election. They win the first election pretending to be populist, all these so-called centrists, right? And then they get slaughtered in the second election because they think, no, it's okay, I made a deal with the banks. Oh, nobody in the red states want deals with the banks. Eric Cantor lost a Republican primary because David Bratt ran against the banks. But they're never going to get it because, guys, last thing, I got to explain this to you. Because to the point about the Titanic, if Donald Trump wins, the Democratic consultants have lost no money at all. They're still going to run the same races the next time. They take 15% of TV ads on average. Now, you all give to the Democratic Party, and that goes, a huge chunk of it goes to those consultants. And they're going to get paid, and they do get paid whether they win or they lose. It's not a contingency basis. You don't get a big bonus if you win. No, you get paid the same amount. But if guys like Bernie Sanders wins and they stop taking the corporate money and they stop running these inefficient TV ads, well, then those guys don't get paid. If you guys go out there and volunteer and knock on doors, they don't get paid. That is why Bernie Sanders and progressives are a bigger threat to the Democratic establishment than any Republican. That's why they fight so hard. That's why they smeared Ellison in a way that I've never seen them smear a Republican. That's why they went ballistic after Bernie Sanders during the primaries and now use him as a mascot. Let's put some watchers on the wall, investigative journalists to run down the Trump administration and the establishment. You can make that happen. TYTnetwork.com/go.